Hey guys, so a very, very sad story came out, I think, a few weeks ago about a little baby in Belgium whose parents decided to feed him really inappropriate diet, milk from their health food store, like quinoa and buckwheat, and just a mix of different plants, oats, I think. And sure enough, the baby did die. The baby basically starved to death, I think, at like 9 months of age, weighed only like 10 pounds. And that vegan couple did decide to make a video about it, and I watched that video, and I think there are a lot of concerns here, so let's talk about them. So when you're talking about any sort of case or article or whatever, it's always a good idea to try and go back to the original source, which you can usually pretty easily do just by looking for who they're quoting. So if you find some article, just look if they say according to the BBC and try to go to the BBC. So this piece that vegan couple is looking at is by LAD Bible. They do have a quote from the BBC in the article. They don't link to it because this is a great news source, if you can't already tell. But I did just Google BBC Belgium quinoa milk, and I was able to find the article that they were quoting. But of course, even this is not the original source, but I was able to find that basically just by doing a little bit more Googling. I found this New York Post piece, which quotes The Independent, which then quotes this local news piece that, as you can see, is not written in English, it is written in Dutch. I did try to translate it with interesting results. As you can see here, Google tells me that it has something to do with his parents continuing to believe in cloths, which I don't think is right.
Judge convicts parents after baby dies from vegan diet. Now, when was the last time we read a headline that said judge convicts parents after baby dies from omnivorous diet?
So this wouldn't actually be an issue if that vegan couple were using a more reputable source like the BBC instead of the home of entertainment, viral video, and trending content. In fact, the vast majority of sources that I found, they did not even put vegan in the headline, not the BBC, not the New York Post, not the Independent, not CBS. The few who did put vegan in the headline were of pretty questionable quality, like Daily Mail and AOL. And no, I've never seen a headline like baby killed by omnivorous diet. And yes, putting vegan in the headline probably is going to, or is at least an attempt to increase views. But that doesn't mean that a vegan diet had nothing to do with it. Sure, a vegan diet done right is a healthy way for kids to eat, and obviously quinoa milk is no replacement for breast milk or formula, but we cannot deny the fact that a large number of vegan babies are ending up malnourished or even dead because of inadequate vegan diets. As that vegan couple mentions a little bit later in the video, the number of vegans in the world is super, super small.
How many vegans are there in the world? Is it like 1%? Is that where we're at?
That.
How many people are actually raising their child vegan? Very, very small percentage.
This makes the number of sick vegan kids even more shocking, especially since many of these kids are getting sick or dying because of just easily preventable conditions. You know, it's usually a B12 deficiency. It could have been easily remedied just by either, if the kid's breastfeeding, the mother herself taking B12, or by giving the baby, the kid, B12 directly, or, you know, other cases like the case in question with Lucas, where a baby is being fed something they should not be fed, you know, some sort of milk like soy milk or quinoa milk as a replacement for breast milk or formula. Clearly something is going on here. Something is leading all of these parents to feed their kids improperly. Maybe they just don't have adequate information. Maybe they don't know about B12, or they don't know that these milks are not a replacement for breast milk or formula, which would make sense since it seems a lot of doctors and dietitians are just very undereducated when it comes to vegetarian and vegan diets. Or maybe it's just that these people are anti-supplements, which would also make sense since a lot of vegans are anti-supplements, even B12 supplements. Although that is a little bit tricky because it seems that a lot of vegans and other people who are anti-supplements are also at least partially anti-doctor. You know, it doesn't really matter how educated doctors are if these parents aren't taking their kids to see them. As vegans, as parents, just as people, this should make us really concerned. All of these cases, these poor children, this should make us really concerned, not looking to shift the blame by way of this is just clickbait, or hey, non-vegan kids get sick too.
That's very definitive, isn't it? You know, that it was the vegan diet.
Yes.
Before we even get into any of the details, any of the information.
It was the vegan
the
diet's
baby
fault.
died because of the vegan diet.
That's right.
Again, better sources have better headlines. Baby-fed alternative diet weighed less than 10 pounds when he died with a totally empty stomach is 100% accurate, if not a little bit wordy, as is baby death, parents convicted over vegetable milk diet, and parents convicted in son's death linked to alternative diet. Again, all totally accurate. I know that that vegan couple got this source from someone else via tweet, but still, they made the video, and it's really their duty to do better research, before making a video. Otherwise, it just seems like they're going after low-hanging fruit, and like they're trying to find the worst case possible to build a, big conspiracy against vegans, as they do later on. And just to be clear, there is no question here about the baby's death. There's no question that he died because he was fed an inadequate food. He was fed this quinoa milk, this plant milk. Cow's milk, soy milk, quinoa milk, any sort of milk is not a replacement for breast milk or formula.
How many children die in the world because of health-related issues, diet-related issues? It's a lot more than 1%.
And what are they all doing? 99% of them are eating an omnivorous diet.
Yeah.
You never see those headlines, though. It reminds me very much of when they went after the vegan who died whilst climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
They never made articles about all the vegans who have successfully climbed Mount Everest.
It's kind of amazing to me that they're trying to compare a case that had nothing to do with diet, someone dying on Mount Everest due to altitude sickness who just happened to be vegan, and a case that literally has everything to do with diet. You can argue that the headlines, including the word vegan, that they're a little bit clickbaity. Again, a vegan diet done right is healthy for kids, so it's not quite fair to paint it as though vegan is inherently unhealthy, even if at the end of the article they do say, well, actually, it can be done right with planning, right? Yeah, it's a little bit unfair. And it's not certain that the parents were vegan or that this had anything to do with veganism proper. But again, a large number of kids are becoming permanently injured or even dead because of the vegan diets that their parents are feeding them. I think that this is what we should be focused on, not the headlines.
This baby weighed 9 pounds at the time of his death, which is at least 7 pounds underweight. It doesn't matter what the diet is. If you're not feeding the child enough food, then they're going to be underweight.
But it does matter what the diet is. And this is really, I don't think they know what they're talking about here, and it's very misleading and potentially very dangerous. Yes, Lucas was found with an empty stomach, but even if he had been fed tons of this quinoa oat milk, enough calories of this stuff, he still would have died. Again, these are not replacements for breast milk and formula, regardless of calories. They do not supply essential nutrients that babies need to survive.
I just wanted to point out there, the figures came from the US CDC, an organisation which promotes healthy lifestyles and methods of preventing illness.
They must be vegan then.
They're obviously promoting a whole foods plant-based diet in that case, aren't they? Because that's the only diet that's ever been shown to reverse our number one killer, heart disease.
Okay, so this part is going to seem like I'm getting a little bit off track, but I promise it's very, very important. So first, they say the CDC, implying that the CDC does not promote a whole food plant-based diet. But is that actually true? Okay, so first, according to Forks Over Knives, a whole food plant-based diet is a diet based on fruits, vegetables, tubers, whole grains, and legumes, and it excludes or minimizes meat, including chicken and fish, dairy products and eggs, as well as highly refined foods like bleached flour, refined sugar, and oil. So, according to the CDC, this is their healthy eating page. According to them, a healthy eating plan is one that emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and fat-free or low-fat milk and milk products, includes lean meats, poultry, fish, beans, eggs, and nuts, is low in saturated fats, trans fats, cholesterol, salt, and added sugars, and stays within your daily calorie needs. This actually is essentially plant-based. Yes, they do encourage eggs and low-fat meats and milk, but they also say that you should eat a low amount of saturated fat and cholesterol. And in order to do that, you have to eat mostly plants. And they also say, low in salt and added sugars, which means that you also have to eat mostly whole foods. There's no doubt that if people ate the way the CDC describes, if this became the new just standard American diet, that there will be serious drops in obesity, diabetes, heart disease, probably cancer too. to imply, as that vegan couple and so many vegans do, that the only way to be healthy is to eat a vegan diet is total nonsense. A well-planned plant-based diet with minimal amounts of meat, particularly if that meat is like fish versus, red or processed meat, is likely not significantly different from a well-planned vegan diet. This is why I personally think that we should focus on the ethical arguments and even the environmental arguments for veganism if we really want people to give up animal products completely, go vegan. And if we're going to focus on veganism and health, then at least be honest and accurate in our reporting and rely on quality evidence. Speaking of quality evidence, the study from Caldwell-Esselstyn that they show is not it. In fact, all of his heart disease reversal studies have been really, really weak. The one that vegan couple shows in their video, the one from 2014, it's just a case series. And as Esselstyn notes, he notes this under the "this study has several limitations" headline in the actual study. Without a control group, it is challenging to establish causality and assess how much of the observed changes are specifically due to the diet. Only some of the observed beneficial outcomes may have been due to the diet. Esselstyn's research is far too limited to make any sort of recommendations on, and his low-fat propaganda directly contradicts the mountains of good quality evidence that have been done on heart disease. Basically, if you want to lower your risk for CVD, then you want to replace saturated fat and trans fats with polyunsaturated fats. What I consider to be nonsense is Dr. Esselstyn's incessant fear-mongering about fat and olive oil based on very limited research, which is contradicted by far more numerous, better quality evidence. If I am not going to be swayed by extreme minority climate change deniers, I am also not going to be swayed by extreme minority anti-olive oil fear-mongers either. Well said.
The sad case is another in a series to have hit headlines around the world surrounding vegan parenting.
So sensationalist. It's just, I wonder why that's happened, because it makes the media money.
Exactly.
Doesn't it?
And
Okay, so let's not focus on the obvious fact of numerous vegan babies being subjected to really extreme, unnecessary suffering by their parents. Instead, let's focus on the headlines and some media conspiracy against veganism, even though the vast majority of the major news outlets didn't say anything about veganism in their articles. But yeah, media conspiracy. Oh, and some animal product, media conspiracy merger. Of course.
a lot of these animal products industries have financial ties to the media industry. I mean, after all, it's the media that promotes their products. McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, Domino's Pizza. They're all the ads that you see when you're scrolling on these sites, aren't they? And it's always protecting their own financial interests. How do they do that? Ooh, veganism seems to be on the rise. We better scare parents off from adopting vegan diets, because that's going to hurt the sales of our products, meat, dairy, eggs.
Never mind the fact that there are multiple articles by mainstream sites like CNN about how unhealthy and even unethical these chains like McDonald's are, and the foods that they promote are, but okay.
And, of course, it's very strategic. They've picked something, it looks like a
Gourmet
raw
thing.
I mean, I don't want to eat that. We used to eat that kind of stuff. You know, that's not going to appeal to the mainstream audience. So they're picking something that's very obscure.
Or maybe they just thought that it looked yummy. Maybe they just thought it looked appetizing. This comes across really paranoid to me. Like, everything is a conspiracy. Everyone is out to get you. They're talking about veganism because they want to scare people away from veganism. They're talking about veganism because they're really being paid by McDonald's. It seems pretty nutty.
The healthiest food for a baby, of course, is the mother's breast milk, right? But then what happens to the majority of women who can't breastfeed their child for whatever reason? They put them on formula derived from the mammary glands of another species, cow milk powder, isn't it?
Yeah, wrong species.
Yeah,
wrong species.
So how is giving cow milk powder to a human baby healthy?
Because it's been fortified with nutrients to mimic human breast milk, maybe? Just because something is unnatural doesn't mean it's unhealthy. The AAP and literally every other pediatric organization and dietetic organization are clear that cow's milk-based formula is appropriate for babies. In fact, it is the only substitute for breast milk aside from soy-based formula. You know, you really can't quote the experts when it suits you and then ignore them when they say something that doesn't fit with your agenda.
Oh, it is possible to feed a baby a vegan diet, but you need to plan carefully to ensure the baby is getting enough nutrients of concern.
But when do they ever say this to parents feeding their child an omnivorous diet?
Yeah,
when do you hear this?
Like all the time? Pretty sure all the time. Like every healthy eating page that I've seen, whether it's the AAP or Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, or even like the whattoexpect.com sites, like they always talk about things like iron supplementation beginning around 4 to 6 months because breast milk tends to be really low in iron. So if your baby is not on iron fortified formula, then they should be given something like infant fortified cereal. That's a good source of iron. Another thing I see a lot is vitamin D supplementation because again, breast milk tends to be low in it. So if you are not giving a formula that would have vitamin D in it, then to give them a vitamin D supplement. Another thing, again, I talked about this in my last video about limiting cow's milk, since excessive cow's milk can lead to iron deficiency in children once they're year 1 of age. Again, under 1 year of age should not be given any sort of milk other than breast milk or formula. They also talk about the importance of giving your kids fruits and vegetables, again, once they reach a certain age, 6 months or so, when you start feeding them solids. Importance of fruits and vegetables for things like vitamin C. Look, I was pregnant, I have a baby, know what I'm talking about, and I have never seen any pediatric or dietetic organization, or even, again, these like sites like whattoexpect.com or Baby Center, I have never seen any of them suggest that a woman or a baby will automatically meet their needs just by including some animal products in their diet, just by eating an omnivorous diet. Now, this doesn't mean that a vegan diet doesn't have its own set of concerns. It absolutely does. And more importantly, these concerns are often quite different from the concerns faced by most people just eating like standard Western diets. For instance, most American kids' diets contain a lot of protein and calories, whereas most vegan kids' diets just do not. And so a vegan kid, while they may be at a lower risk for obesity, they may actually be at a higher risk for developmental disorders. If saying that scares people away from veganism, so be it. It needs to be said. Vegan parents need to know this, and they need to know how to guard against it by feeding their kids adequate calories and adequate protein from foods like full-fat fortified soy milk, again, after 1 year of age, infant fortified cereal, avocado and nut butters, and legumes. If we care about saving vegan kids, or any kids, from malnourishment, from malnutrition, we cannot sweep these problems under the rug, no matter how difficult it makes a vegan diet seem.
How many times do you see babies on the internet eating absolute rubbish? You know, there was that one that was eating bacon.
Yeah.
Now, bacon is a class 1 carcinogen, so classified by the World Health Organization.
Now, that was a viral video that everyone was applauding as, oh my God, it's so beautiful, how cute, how funny, he's eating bacon, bacon, bacon.
The parents are feeding them a known carcinogen.
Again, can we please stop with the omnivores do it too type of responses? It's not helpful, and it comes across as very childish. And if you really don't see the difference between a baby eating bacon and maybe possibly getting cancer from it decades later, and a baby literally starving to death, I don't know how to help you.
Now, we always reference the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics.
Yeah, except when it comes to infant formula. Foreshadowing, you remember? Okay, here it is. They say that it's unhealthy, but the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics is clear that formula, even cow's milk-based formula, is appropriate for babies. Also, their dietary guidelines are pretty much exactly the same as the CDC's. Yes, they do support a vegan diet for all life stages, if that's what the parent chooses, but what they actually promote is this. It's, again, essentially the same thing as the CDC. So why is the CDC so untrustworthy, but the Academy is fine? Also, that vegan couple promotes a low-fat diet as, this is from their video, the way we were meant to eat.
We've had several requests to make a video detailing the elements of a high-carb, low-fat vegan lifestyle. And so here it is.
So what is it and how do you do it? Well, before we get into the details, we want to mention that this lifestyle is not something new, it's not a fad, it's not something super special. It's simply the way we were meant to eat and live, and it's supported by science. It's the baseline for health.
Which is definitely not what the Academy promotes, neither for adults nor for children. That vegan couple, if you are watching this, please think about how this looks to other people, to people who are not part of your group. It looks like cherry picking. It looks like cherry picking to fit your agenda. It doesn't look good. More importantly, it isn't helpful and it's potentially harmful. Yes, it is awesome that you are promoting the Academy as a source of nutrition, for vegan parents, for their kids. That's awesome. But again, you're also promoting low fat for adults, which is not doing veganism any favors. It's much harder to stick with and it's less healthy.
The mother was not lactating, okay? She couldn't produce her own milk. When the baby was offered formula, it refused, leading his parents to presume he was lactose intolerant. So I don't understand that. If they're vegan parents, why would they have given the baby a cow's milk based formula? They would have given him a soy formula.
Do we actually know that the parents were vegan, though? I couldn't find any mention of this, not in this article, the LAD Bible article, nor any other piece on the topic. And even if they were vegan, they still could have actually tried the cow's milk-based formula. Maybe they didn't have access to soy formula. Maybe it wasn't sold in their area. I don't know what the situation is in Belgium, but I'm sure that's possible. Maybe the soy was just more expensive than the cow's milk-based. That's certainly the case here in the US, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same other places. I know that other places you have to get like a prescription to get soy-based. It has to be because there is an actual intolerance, which we don't know if that's the case here. The parents never actually got a diagnosis for the kids, so there is a chance that they just assumed. It sounds like they're pretty delusional, right? They thought that the kid was okay at 10 pounds at 8-9 months. It's, there's obviously something wrong with these people. So there's certainly a chance that they never fed the kid any formula and just assumed that he was lactose intolerant. Point is, there are lots of different scenarios here, and it just makes that vegan couple seem really paranoid to just assume that it's the author intentionally lying to make vegans look bad.
So 1 minute you're criticizing them for being vegan and forcing their vegan diet on their child. Well, they actually tried cow's milk, if this is true. And I don't actually believe anything in this article because it's absolute bullshit. They just lie and manipulate.
Yeah, again, the headline's a little clickbaity, but the article itself seems pretty fine. There's no evidence of any nefarious intentions.
Source out a plant-based doctor, do some research. Go to PCRM. We're going to link some pages down below that specifically help parents with what do they eat during pregnancy, what do they feed their baby and their infant and child at all different stages of their life and development.
So I think PCRM has done some really great work when it comes to animal welfare. Their main focus is like animals used in research and in schools and whatnot, and that's really great. But when it comes to their nutrition advice, it's not the best because, like so many, they really focus on low fat. So I would definitely go for the Academy over PCRM for diet advice for children or for adults, or look for vegan dietitians that don't promote low-fat pseudoscience, people like Jenny Messina and Jack Norris.
Basically, they just needed some good advice. They needed help, and this is where it's definitely the fault of the parents. If you don't know what you're doing and your baby is shrinking in size and it's having health problems, then you've got to go and get some help. The baseline is that this has nothing to do with veganism, with a vegan diet. This is bad parenting, misinformed parents, lack of education information.
Yes, it was their fault. They fed the kid the diet. They obviously failed as parents. They're very delusional, I would imagine, and just the whole thing is incredibly sad. But again, there are lots of cases of vegan kids becoming extremely malnourished to the point of death. And I think we need to be concerned about this and try to figure out why this is happening. Maybe it's just a case of delusional people or people with eating disorders being drawn to restrictive diets. And if that's the case, it's really fucking sad. And I don't know how you fix that. But maybe it has something to do with certain vegans. Unfortunately, a lot of vegan educators, even vegan doctors, promoting pseudoscience and really terrible nutrition advice, and possibly these parents taking that on for themselves and then passing it on to their children, basically, and feeding their children really inadequate diets based on this advice. I mean, look, if they're not supposed to listen to doctors and dietitians because they're all brainwashed by the dairy and meat industries and they're being paid by big pharma and the other food industries, they're all shills. Why would we listen to them when it comes to our children, when it comes to our children's diet? And really, I mean, why would we listen to the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics? I mean, look, they promote cow's milk-based formula, which we all know is unnatural and unsuitable for babies. I mean, gosh, they must be shills for the dairy industry too. I mean, really, when I think about it, who can we trust? The only people we can trust are, I mean, real trustworthy vegans, like that vegan couple. And I saw this video from them the other day where they said that a low-fat vegan diet, it's the diet that we're meant to eat. And I mean, if I'm meant to eat it, well, my baby's meant to eat it too, right? And I mean, the Academy, they say that, oh, plant fats are really, really healthy. But again, they can't be trusted. So yeah, I guess I'll just feed my baby quinoa milk. I'm not saying that vegan couple caused Lucas's death. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that it's not too crazy of a leap to think that someone who watches their videos and thinks that a low-fat diet is a species-appropriate diet, or however you want to word it, that they then put that on their child as well, and they end up feeding their child an inadequate diet. That's not that big of a leap to me. Another thing, if we care about veganism and promoting veganism and trying to get more people to go vegan, shouldn't we really worry about how this looks to non-vegans, how people who watch this video who aren't vegan, what they're going to think? You have a video where two vegans spend the majority of the time talking about the fishiness of the story and this weird conspiracy, and they spend very little actual time talking about the facts, talking about the case, the fact that a little child suffered probably for his entire life because of this improper diet that he was fed, and that unfortunately this is not the first time that something like this has happened and has been associated with veganism. And maybe this actually had nothing to do with veganism. Again, we don't know if the parents were vegan. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were just anti-milk or whatever. I mean, look, it's likely that they were vegan, but we don't really know. But the fact of the matter is, lots of cases have happened involving vegan kids whose parents were absolutely vegan, and this is just another case that is at least partially associated with veganism. As vegans, we just need to do better. I think we need to look at ourselves first instead of always trying to cast blame, always trying to blame non-vegans and the media and everything else, because we're doing a lot of terrible stuff and promoting a lot of dangerous stuff. We need to stop promoting pseudoscience like low-fat, high-carb. We need to stop quoting experts, deferring to experts when it suits our agenda, and then completely dismissing them as industry funded when they say something that we don't like. Most importantly, we need to admit to ourselves that vegan diets have potential problems. We need to know what these are. We need to be open and honest about what they are, and we need to figure out and share with people, how to guard against them. Just saying it's easy to be vegan and omnivorous diets can be unhealthy too, it's not helping anyone. I really think that we need to listen and we need to take problems seriously and stop being denial-oriented and instead be solution-oriented. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's a fast car. I don't know if you can hear that. If you have any comments or questions, of course, leave them down below. If you want to subscribe, of course, subscribe. Although I don't know how well that works. I've heard about people complaining about subscribing to a channel and then not getting their videos in their feed, and I'd never had that happen to me until recently. I am subscribed to Internet Comment Etiquette, and I noticed that the recommended page was showing new videos, but when I go to my feed, it wouldn't show any, and I'd go to his channel and it's yeah, you're totally subscribed. If you're having that problem, there is the little bell. I guess you get notifications. I don't know. I've never used the bell, but I think that's how it works. You click on it and then they'll send you an email or something when I post a video. So do that, I guess, if you're having that problem. I guess that should override it. Maybe there's a whole nother problem where you click the bell and it doesn't do anything either. I don't know. YouTube usually it's great. I love YouTube, but sometimes there are problems. Anyway, it's like you can say that, I think, about anything. Hey, this thing's great, but sometimes it's not. Wow. Really, really insightful, Swayze. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Again, hope you enjoyed it. And Patreon, you can support the channel on Patreon, patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. Of course, thank you so much to the patrons who do support the channel. Yeah, I will have a new video very soon.